That's like that. What is that? That's
We're trying to make a video.
yeah.
He's doing yard work on the
guy right there. That dude right there in the red cap that I've never seen in the history of this yard. And who cuts that grass? Like, I mean, I cut every 2 weeks, but that thing is like, look at that. That's the jungle happening out there.
It's the jungle out there. That's my Randy Newman impression. Did you guys like it?
No, I don't.
That's the Monk theme song.
What's the Monk theme song?
It goes, it's a jungle out. Captain Leland Stottlemyre comes on and he's like, Monk.
James Gum? Oh, Buffalo Bill.
It's
Sorry.
Buffalo Bill. Anyway. Are we doing a special intro like that? Or do we just say our name?
No, you guys could do what you want.
Hello, I'm the eldest, the bestest, and your resident Lord of the Rings expert.
You can do whatever you want. I would start with, hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Wow, my eyes just went cross-eyed. I'm sorry.
You're fine. You're fine.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Why did you laugh? Why did you laugh?
I was trying to adjust, and then he started talking, and I started shaking. Sorry.
No, you're good. No hat.
Hello, everyone. Hello, you guys are good. Hi, everybody. All right. So the worst thing that you can do is make me laugh because once I get the giggles, I don't recover.
What am I supposed to do?
I'm going to start now officially, though, okay? He's so serious. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us, whether it's your first time or a return time. We appreciate you checking in for either a look if you watch us on YouTube or listen if you follow us on podcast. My name is Mark. I'm usually 1/3 of the host of the regular episodes of the Fandom Outpost. But today, we have something really, really special that I'm very, very excited about. We are doing a special edition Fandom Outpost podcast for the 20th anniversary of The Lord of the Rings Return of the King. On my right,
as previously mentioned before, eldest daughter Gabrielle and resident Lord of the Rings expert.
We'll find that out. And then on my left...
Hi, I'm Nikki.
Anyway, this is my eldest daughter, Gabrielle. And this, finally, to put a face to the name, is Nikki, our lovely producer for the Fandom Outpost, my wife. All three of us absolutely love and adore the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but this December 2023, it will be the 20th anniversary of the Return of the King. So this special edition episode is going to hopefully focus on Return of the King, but also on the trilogy as a whole, as I think we have some interesting things that we're going to discuss. So the first thing I'm going to start with, we're going to jump right in, and I want to hear what the Lord of the Rings means to you guys. I would hopefully love that our producer will find a picture of me embarrassingly dressed as Gandalf holding her as a baby in 1999 that we can insert in here. When Lord of the Rings first came out, we did a promotion, a midnight promotion, and I took her to that. But like, how do you guys feel about Lord of the Rings? Let's just start with that. Sorry, the movies. We are not going to be discussing the books here, if at all possible. It's just the movies.
It's a complicated question to say, what does it mean to you? But in the simplest terms, it's going back, re-listening to music, re-watching it. The feeling that, especially Return of the King, gives me, driving back and forth, listening to that soundtrack, knowing all the music cues, knowing all the verbal cues, sitting there watching it with friends, family, doing that stupid, did you know in this moment, this thing happened behind the scenes that everybody mentions for any movie. There's no feeling that
That's a super nerd right there.
There's no feeling that equals the joy or the sadness or the giddiness of what I feel while I'm experiencing it. It's one of those, it'll always be top 5 movie, if not the top movie. I mean, as a whole, I feel like it's hard to separate
the trilogy or just Return of the King.
I feel like in this moment, it's the trilogy as a whole. It's hard for me to. I mean, I can rank them what I think is best, but when I talk about,
we'll get to that.
My top movies of all time, I lump those together because it's really hard to really just separate them and then have them take 3 out of top 5.
This moment that I feel in a different category because I'm simple. I like men with beards. I like accents. I like
I don't
swords,
have one of those.
and I like horses.
Yeah.
And that's Lord of the Rings.
Oh my
You're missing
goodness!
about 50% then, but we'll get
It
you there.
fit all the categories that you like. Then I get that.
I
Yeah.
just liked the fantasy genre growing up, so it was just something different and cool. And I feel like it was one of the, arguably the first of its kind, in that it was a real seriously epic fantasy movie. You know, you had some jokier ones or ones that didn't take itself. You fucking bird clock.
Yeah, that's your bird clock.
Well, how did you?
Shut up! I love
how
my
did-
old lady bird
how
clock.
did you-
Let the birds finish.
Alfred Hitchcock.
This episode is just gonna be bloopers. There's not gonna be a real episode.
How did you come to Lord of the Rings? I mean, did you read the novels first? Were you into the fantasy genre? Is there something before that would have kept it flowing? Then you were like, oh, this Lord of the Rings looks pretty cool. I want to check that out.
So I think I was always into fantasy things. I'm very confident that I saw movies first. I have a very vivid memory of I went to a yard sale and I saw a novel, like all 3, one big novel version of Lord of the Rings for 50 cents. And I was like, you're coming with me. So then I read that like front to back as many times as I could. And I would have been in high school when I did that. And then we reread The Hobbit in my freshman English class, but I had already read it.
Oh, so you're like,
nice.
have the
Yeah, I was
advantage
like,
over here. Little
this
nerd
is
Nikki
gonna
in
be
the
easy.
corner.
Yeah.
I think what's crazy is, and this is obviously just different age groups, I guess, and when everything came out, is I have no actual memory of seeing Lord of the Rings for the first time, hearing it, reading anything. I have no vivid memory of any of that.
I'm just worried the vibration.
I just use it for trivia and stuff like that.
Oh, you should.
Well, that's why I have this.
Oh, okay.
That's what this is. Always producing. Anyways.
Being a kid and running around in a diaper and a t-shirt, taking 2 sticks and going, you shall not pass! Like, no understanding of what I'm actually doing, but knowing that is such a formative thing.
No, I follow that baby diaper story
I
up.
can't top baby
my God.
Gandalf.
Oh, baby Gandalf. That's even better.
I remember being in the car, listening to the music with you just in the background, and then saying one of the lines. I think it was technically Fellowship. Like, I have a very clear memory, because I remember you almost full stopped the car, like, on the highway, going, what? And I was like...
I do, now that you triggered something, I do remember the first time you had, I don't know what you'd call it, like you had cognizant recognition of a musical cue, because you told me the money shot that...
They're all walking over the hill.
Oh, over the hill, yeah. From
Fellowship.
Yeah. So I do remember you telling me that. I was like, wow, how do you know that stuff? But, you know, you obviously did that because you're on a whole nother level. I mean, I'm probably not even that good with the music cues. I love them, and Howard Shore is a whole nother thing that we're going to talk about, but I don't have it like you have it. You know what I mean? But I want to hear from Nikki a little bit.
I have a very vivid memory of waiting for Return of the King to come out.
Nice.
Because we were on vacation at the time as a family. We took a couple vacations as a family when I was younger. And we didn't go to the movies a ton, like actual theaters to see movies. So it had come out on home release. And I think we had rented it on VHS.
Nice.
In our little vacation rental in North Carolina. And sat down as a family. Like, beaches 3 feet away, and we were like, nah, fuck that, Return of the King.
It's all about priorities here.
Why do we all look over there? What just happened?
Something was vibrating intensely over there, and I don't know. There's no reason it should be making all that noise.
A ghost!
So, Return of the King. Peter Jackson's Stick the Landing. Is it worth it 3 years later? I mean, is that, you leave the theater going, oh my God, that was awesome.
I think that for the build-up that was given, it was the conclusion that really couldn't have been done any better for an epic tale like that. Where, obviously, there are certain things you always can't put in, or there are things that are cut out, then you have extended editions and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't even know why this is a question. Like, done? Yeah, obviously.
Okay.
I mean, think about some of the most memorable quotes that come to your mind first, and most of them are from Return of the King, I think.
Yeah.
You bow to no one. I can't carry the ring, but I
Side
can
by
carry
side
you.
with a friend.
Side by side with a
I
friend.
am no man.
I am no man.
I do think there are a lot of moments
Like,
that you could obviously pull from any of the
all of
trilogy,
them.
like, Two Towers, Aragorn
you're right.
walking through the doors, and you're like, oh, that's a moment. That defines me as a child for whatever reason.
So the theme concerning hobbits, she loves that. If I could pick two pieces of music from the entire trilogy, it's concerning hobbits and the Annie Lennox song "Into the West" at the end.
That's my girl.
Yeah, so those are if they're on or we're playing them and stuff. The sentence that seems to come out of her mouth, even if she's in the other room, be like, "You better not change that." So those are like two really prominent pieces of music that I know that she loves. Not trying to take the words out of your mouth, but from experience. Do you have a favorite?
I think to keep it in Return of the King, it's the lighting of the beacons.
Yeah.
It's actually three of them. It's lighting of the beacons. It's when Gandalf and Pippin are sitting up top during the battle on Gondor, and he's telling them about, and it's like Into the West is kind
a far green country.
Yes. That's always one of those. Oh, I feel that I can hear Gandalf telling me about this, and I can visualize it in my head while the music's going on. And the other one is obviously Fellowship Reunites, which is like a 12-minute piece. But it's that, my friends, you gotta know, the 4 different endings, everything like that. Like, that's just such a beautiful, almost ending piece of music before, like, the reprise of Concerning Hobbits basically comes up, and then it...
Well, copyright aside, it'd be nice if we get a couple of these snippets in here, maybe. I don't know. Yeah,
no, I was going to say that the Far Green Place key, you always talk about that from a directing standpoint.
Oh, my God.
That is, that piece of cinema really shows Peter Jackson's directing abilities.
Yeah.
Because the acting in that scene is so good and so like, okay, you're gonna look off this way and you're gonna see this hopeful future. You're gonna,
it's done so well too. I feel like where the way that they describe it and the way that they film it and the way that it sounds, I visualize that place. Yeah. And obviously everyone visualizes it differently, but like I've got that in my mind. I'm like, that's it.
Nikki has brought up a wonderful example of I don't know if it's directing, if it's acting. Obviously, Ian McKellen. And I don't want to spend time on it, but there's a scene in The Fellowship of the Ring where Boromir is describing to Aragorn the White Towers in the White City.
That's the other one.
And it's almost the same thing. The way the actors look. Please go back and watch that if you're a nerd. Watch that scene of how Viggo Mortensen and Sean Bean are just looking, and you're like going, what are they looking at? Like, it's so powerful, and it's revisited again in what she just said with Gandalf saying his description of the I guess it's the Undying Lands is what he's talking about, And it's funny to watch Pippin where he's like, what Gandalf? Like, he's really in that moment as it's being described. And I just think that is, those are good examples. And I'm sure there's a lot of little things like that are sprinkled through.
Yeah, I wrote down another music cue for me is that when Gandalf is using the light against the Nazgul, that chorus of like
comes in a state,
and the voices come. Oh, that gets me every time.
Out of almost all the movies, which is almost crazy to say, Return of the King might have some of those best moments of acting, directing, and music all coming together.
That stick the landing, I guess. Then
or like when Faramir's riding off to go fight him, and like that's just one of those scenes where
think
it's like,
better of me.
I guess it's a boys' choir. There's a boy singing at that thing with the light, and Nikki will always say, and this could be in musicals as well, or something else that she'll bring up, where she'll be like, a choir. I don't know the exact line, but she'll be like, man, the addition of acquire somebody like that gets her every time.
I feel like it always makes it feel even more epic. Like a musical score, cool. But it's the same thing when you go to like Duel of Fates. The second that fucking choral comes in, it's like instantly that song went from like all right to like oh shit, like so that's just how I feel when you add in voices or a vocal part to like a score.
Absolutely.
I think that's why that Billy Boyd part in that song, it's rather than just music, it's him singing and it's so soft. Or even at the very end when Viggo Mortensen has some lines in Elvish, it's like, damn, that makes it.
That was my first real taste of, and not of nerddom. I mean, I grew up with it, but the fact that I learned his lines singing, and I was actually mumbling it at work one day. I was actually singing to myself, and a coworker turned over and said, "Are you singing like the Elvish of Viggo Mortensen from Return of the King?" The fact that person knew it caught me off guard because I didn't think
that's
people
already like
would do it.
But that's
and then at the point I was like, "Oh my god, do I own it?" And I was just like, "Yes, I was."
Well, it's like when we went to go see Return of the King in theaters, on the big screen, like a year or so ago, and we're all sitting in the theater, and I remember mumbling it to myself, and then I remember seeing out of the corner of my eye, Nikki sitting up and looking at us, and then I look over and she went, "Bunch of fucking nerds." And I went, yeah.
And for you guys at home, do not mistake this that like she's not part of this, man. She is that. She checks us all the time, which is awesome because she'll be like, "You fucking nerds." But when you dig into it, she's 1,000 times deeper. Hey, and by the way, audience, one of these days we're going to get to a musical theater podcast episode, and I hope to not be part of it. Because I want to invite the people that are going to go off the rails with this stuff, because I could do an impression right now of my wife, but I won't, of her getting into the music and stuff, because it is awesome. But musical theater, mark your calendars.
I also put down the Grey Havens theme. I think that is really a moving piece of music. It's part of the the endings. It's that section of, Gandalf is about to go to the Undying Land.
Is it the flute thing? Like it's kind of the flute?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Okay. Is that basically they're like getting on the ship, or is it?
It's when he's talking to them, and he's and it's all sad, and they're all fucking crying, and they had to film that 3 different times because the first time Sean Astin was wearing the wrong shirt, and then they had to film it again, and they realized the film didn't develop right or something, so they had to film it a 3rd time, and they were all like, "We're tired of crying."
So let me ask you guys something right now. Know what you know about Lord of the Rings? Watching Return of the King, coming into the 4 or 5 different endings and stuff. Do you still cry?
Oh, every time. I mean, it's one of those listening to the music in the car. I'm still.
Thank you, Howard Shore.
Howard Shore did not have to go that hard.
Howard Shore did not have to go that hard. Guess what?
Sorry, what did you say?
The phrase is Howard Shore did not have to go that hard.
Did not have to go that hard.
But he did.
But he did.
And he did it for us.
That is amazing. We all, as a family here, have some composers that we absolutely love. I got about a top 3 in my head. Even imagining other composers taking on the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I just don't think it's the same. I just don't.
Well, that argument can be made to anything. Like,
me and Nikki have conversations about John Williams. There's nothing wrong with John Williams, but John Williams writes. What did we say? He writes those epic
movie themes. He writes
themes.
A movie theme really well.
He writes a movie theme. So when you get to a Howard Shore, arguably, maybe even controversial, he doesn't necessarily write a movie theme like where you recognize Jurassic Park.
There's not one song across the Lord of the Rings trilogy, besides maybe Concerning Hobbit, that is representative of the whole movie that makes you go, "Damn, that's the theme for Lord of the Rings."
Exactly.
You just hear the music and you're like, "Oh, that's this scene. That's this."
I guess for me though, over the years, like the Fellowship theme, like that's one where I go, "That's Lord of the Rings." Coming over the mountain, that building. I'm like, that's it. Yeah, that's the Fellowship theme.
But I think John Williams is the most obviously iconic at a movie theme. He's got the most
diverse and
the most popular
Yeah.
movies.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But then, like, I don't think, like, if you take a James Horner, right, who can have similar elements to Howard Shore, sometimes in how they write, but I don't think a James Horner would be able to do Jaws. I don't think, but I think maybe a Hans Zimmer might be. I think there are some movies where a person might be able to do that, but I don't think it's universal that this composer could go do every single other movie and it be
Right.
the
Right.
same feeling.
Well, like you said, Hans Zimmer and then Howard Shore and then
James Horner.
James Horner. Those guys, to me, are kind of in the same category where they write these melodic, epic scores, but it doesn't have that piece that's, again,
Yeah.
that's blah, blah, blah. How many times have we done trivia and we've gotten those two mixed up from, like, what is it, Interstellar and...
well, we usually mix up this, like, we're usually able to define, like, oh, that's a Hans Zimmer score,
right.
but what
which
movie is it if they're not playing, like, because if you take, like, so Hans Zimmer did The Lion King, right?
Right.
That there is a piece of music that's not like, I just can't wait to be king, or, you know, Circle of Life or whatever, that I think really embodies the Lion King.
When he walks up the rock, is that It Is Time?
Hold on. Yeah, it's the It Is Time. Yeah. That to me is like really the Lion King there.
Okay.
So I think, and Hans Zimmer, I think, can write a movie theme. They're just, usually the rest of the movie is very similar to other Hans Zimmer movies. In the same vein of, like, he uses the same instruments and sounds, but John Williams is the same way. John Williams uses trumpets a lot in his orchestrations and stuff. So, like, that's why you can tell it's a certain composer, because of the style and instruments they go to.
That's a good point. Yeah.
But I think John Williams is the best at creating at least one piece of music that stands out from the rest more.
Yeah. That theme.
Yeah.
I guess is because when you look at...
We should get back to Lord of the Rings.
But getting back to Return of the King specifically and stuff. So here's something I want to bring up. There is no, arguably controversial, there's no villain. I know I said that statement. There's no physical embodiment of the villain. You do not get the payoff of our superheroes fight the villain. Almost any kind of cinema, I've never seen that before.
I think there is, but I think it's not a classic villain in the sense that it's a body. The villain in this movie is absolutely the ring. You see what it does to Frodo in the actual, like, scars on him. You see what it does to Sam in just the short period of time he holds it, and that where Frodo finally gets there and he just can't put it over the edge and destroy it. Like, that is this movie's villain.
Or even what it does to everyone else. Boromir and Fellowship is a really big example. Denethor, literally, as soon as they arrive, even close to it, and he's like, I know, I can feel it.
So,
you know
like,
what I mean?
Your final battle, what you would assume between the good guy and the bad guy, is that scene of Sam and Frodo and Gollum on that ledge, and they're all trying to get rid of the ring. That's your final battle, because it is then satisfying for the viewer to watch as, you know, Gollum falls down, and then the ring, and then
I get it.
The best shot, I think one of the best shots in the whole thing, is the ring just sits on top of the lava
second,
for
like
just a second first,
Yeah.
and then it goes down. So that's your death of the villain, is that ring finally getting, because you're holding your breath. You're like,
you're right. Yeah, it's
and then
finally we've watched that.
Yeah,
and I agree. I'm not, but I just think that it's subverted tropes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, and I don't have any proof of this. I mean, you can look it up online or half-ass internet research, whatever. But there seems to be a when that orc, I think it's an orc, it might be a troll at the end, is fighting Aragorn. The guy at the end where Legolas is trying to get to him to help him.
Oh,
it's literally that surrounded battle.
Yeah.
That there's a rumor or something, and I don't know, I didn't do all the research, that was a physical embodiment that Sauron finally had come down. And they were like, no, we can't have this. So they were trying to follow the standard tropes of good guy versus bad guy, you know, let's give that finish. But I think because we didn't have that, you're right. Those, do we care about the guys fighting the army and stuff? Yes. But again, like she just said, it makes it better when it's like Sam and Frodo and stuff. And you're like, oh my God, you know, and that's going on.
But I think,
and we'll get to Sam.
Not having, I guess, Sauron technically as, like, he's this name, he's this creature, this being that's all powerful, all fearful, can control everything. And you hear obviously the stories of the battle and the way that Elrond tells it. I was there, Gandalf. I was there 3,000 years ago, and like seeing him and just wreck shit. I think that the whole point is he needs the ring to be able to form himself again. Right. That almost makes it better that he was like, oh, I'm an all-powerful being. It'll come back to me. I've got no worries. I'll send out my minions, the Witch King. I'll send out the Nazgul. I'll do whatever. Like, I'm not worried about it because who's really gonna stand the test of time?
It is funny. He does send out some hellaciously scary things.
Yeah.
You know, where you're like, oh my god. And then some scary things, but not part of Sauron's thing would be like Shelob or something like that. But insert picture of Shelob here.
No.
Anyway, I want these guys to talk about the best scene with the Witch King.
So we're just talking about Eowyn's journey through the movies, and he brought up the point that she seems to just kind of be there to cause unnecessary love drama, right? Because you want to keep that flame between Arwen and Aragorn going, and oh, who's this third person, and what are they going to do? And I see it more as the story of Eowyn's defeat, it being like, oh, okay, well, I got turned down by a man, and then being like, fuck that, I'm going into battle. Like, just absolutely riding in and having, we talked about last night, it might be the best scene or moment in the whole trilogy.
And I understand that's controversial what she's saying. There are very, very good scenes. The little Pippin Gandalf scene, things like that. As I was telling them, I waited 3 years to get to that moment. It was such a great moment in the book that I was like, I can't wait to see that. And I admit, I had a taken breath in the theater because I was like it's going to happen. And I was really moved to tears to watch that scene.
And when you read it in the book describes it in a way that you don't know who this writer is until they take off that helmet. In the movie, we get the benefit of being able to see Miranda Otto's face through the mask, and you're like, oh, that's Eowyn. But like in the book, it's what's the like Denethor, not Denethor. I don't know. I forget the person's name that they're described as.
I don't know.
It's like it starts with a D. I can't remember. But they're this random writer, and then the helmet comes off, and you're like, oh shit!
Right.
And then I still think it works in the movie, even knowing ahead of time who it is. Absolutely. Because you get to see that moment where, Mary's on the horse with her and is like, courage, my friend, like that whole thing. Like, sorry, I'm getting worked up right now.
That's awesome. Her journey is an awesome one because Aragorn, she earlier in the movie, she has a line about until old age and senility claim me or something like that. And you can tell Aragorn is really, he feels like that almost hurt him, saying you're a shield maiden of Rohan. He's like, I don't think that's going to be your fate. Like, he knows and can see the courage in her. So the fact that we got that payoff is, of course, a testament to Tolkien and his writing. But the fact that it was like, she's not a random person, but to have I guess, your hero's journey epic moment in this movie when there's 4 others in line before her that all want to have these moments, or as a viewer, you're like, okay, which one we get to next? And it's suddenly in the middle of battle that comes up, and it comes after her watching her father figure get killed by the Witch King. So that was it's really emotional. But when she comes between those two, oh my God, I'm actually feeling it too right now.
Well, and then
it's so good.
Then you have we talked about it last night a little bit, the Carl Urban Éomer, that just brutal scene of him discovering her.
Right.
And before, if you watch the extended edition, she turns out okay. But if you're just...
yeah, she's just there. She's in the houses of healing.
Actually,
it's like, okay.
That scene is in the extended edition as well, like at the Éomer.
The house. Well, yeah, because in the theatrical, it's literally like battle.
The two of them are just in the houses of healing, which is really weird.
And then they show up at the end. Aragorn's
in the coronation, yeah. But literally, we don't see Faramir is shot. Right, he makes his sacrifice. He's shot. Daddy issues is going to go burn him, which is like, okay. And then, like, the dude's got arrows in him that somebody must have ripped out because they're not there anymore. Then he's going to go burn them.
Yep.
This dude's fucked up, if you ask me. And then we don't see him again. That dude makes his half-mile run on fire.
Yeah.
And you don't see Faramir again until House of the Healing. And technically, you wouldn't see him at all anyways and stuff. So
Yeah.
you're like, is that guy okay? Like, that would be a really serious question to ask. Be like, what happened to him? Did he live?
Yeah.
You know, what happened to her? But that Carl Urban moment and I beg you, stop and go watch that moment right now and come back, because he lets out a wail that every time I watch it,
muted, you got the music.
Well, it evokes in me, it gives me the feeling of like one of you guys.
Yeah.
Like it gives you that feeling, like, who's the one that you love? Imagine, not that I'm imagining that, but you're like, oh my God, the fucking wail that comes out of this guy's mouth.
Well, the other thing is he didn't even know she was there.
Oh, yeah, right, of course, yeah.
She wasn't supposed to be there. She snuck in as part of the army. So out of all these men that he's known forever expecting to find dead on this battlefield, out of all the people he thought, they're safe, I don't have to worry about them, I am sacrificing the good for them. His sister, the only person he now has left, because his cousin's dead, his uncle's dead, the one person he thought, I can at least protect them, if nothing else, is now laying in front of him.
And you know
That's a good point, man. He's thinking she's fucked off back at that campsite and stuff, and then to see her body laying there and stuff. Yeah, Carl Urban, dude.
That's what I was just about to say. I was like, that's because Carl Urban's a fucking
dude,
legend.
Yeah, Carl Urban, man.
Carl Urban,
boy.
if you're listening, you're
oh my God, dude. I mean, like, you made the movie for me, dude.
Yeah.
Like, that was it. Like, you got a good character. He's got a good arc and stuff, but boy, I tell you, to show
Shout
that.
out to Carl Urban.
Shout out to Carl Urban and stuff.
Oh, we gonna have a Star Trek episode? Because we should.
I don't.
And guess what that would feature?
Carl
Urban.
Yeah. Literally in those the only thing he hasn't been in is like a Star Wars franchise and stuff. So, but we are pulling for you in Dread, buddy.
We're pulling for you.
We are so rooting for you, dude. We need a sequel for Dread, and I know you're on board with that. Oh my God, Justice for Dread. And then look at his face. All he's doing in the next scene, he's sitting over. Well, first of all, he cradles her. It's horrible. Yeah. But then he's sitting there. He's sitting there while she's dead.
And then it pans.
He's just sitting there,
just watching it happen. Like, nobody even knows what to do. No one knows how to react. No one can comfort him. They're just letting him sit there, just waiting.
Like, yeah, he's just over his sister. He's like, okay, and then of course, our boy Aragorn comes in and does the magic counter and stuff like that, which is a great scene because that leads into the Houses of Healing and stuff. Yeah. And obviously, we're talking a lot about extended editions. It fills in some storylines or some questions you might have, etc. Like, it never really shows Faramir and Eowyn get married. Yeah. I mean, it shows the shot of them at the end.
But that was filmed, so shout out to Don Marshall for the second extended edition. We want it. Peter Jackson, you're a coward. Give it to us.
Someone's got him sitting
We
somewhere.
will watch an 8-hour cut of Return of the King. Don't test us.
We would, too.
Even if they just released the scenes and not, like,
I'll edit it together. I don't give a fuck.
Someone else will absolutely take the time and edit everything together.
Well, we were talking about this last night, that we would sit through supercuts. There's got to be scenes out there that we're sure we've not even seen. Yep. And for those of you who are really, truly Lord of the Rings fans and bought the DVDs and stuff, it was a monumental thing when the first DVDs came out with the extended editions. They had this box set. They were all green, red, and blue. And it wasn't even those that were popular. It was the appendices that Peter Jackson had while filming all this stuff. Yep. And kudos to anybody that could get through that stuff, because they were hours and hours and hours to watch that stuff. And oh my God.
That's where the clip of Sam's wedding scene and Viggo Mortensen and Billy Boyd were like, we don't want this to be awkward for them because there was nobody else on set. So they attended the wedding, like, out of sight. And when the bouquet gets tossed, Viggo Mortensen caught it and then went and kissed Billy Boyd. That's like one of the famous clips that are.
That's awesome.
In
one of the appendices, yeah. So I just think that we, as fans, got an amazing, an amazing project that at the time, with everything that was out, this is 1996 when they start doing this, 96, 97, something, because it came out
first came out in 2001.
right.
So
So
it would have been around like
maybe
98, 99.
maybe 98,
probably.
99, because it takes 400 some days to film, I think, or something.
It took
like
them
that.
about 2 years to film.
That's all principal photography. And the fact that somebody, and I'm sorry that I don't know you because I give you a huge shout out right now, that somebody that approved, saying, yeah, if you're going to do this, you better do it with all three. And it's a good story to go back and listen to about Peter Jackson trying to get this made.
Oh my God.
And about some studios were like, October 1999, principal photography for the Lord of the Rings trilogy was conducted. Concurrently 438 days. I got that. I said 435.
Yeah.
Ooh, shout out for me. Through December 22nd, 2000. And then, of course, there's always reshoots and stuff like that.
Did you know that? So, Return of the King, out, theatrical, boom, Oscars, amazing. I think it was 4 months after it won Best Picture at the Oscars, Peter Jackson filmed some additional of the skull scenes where after they go to the Ghost Army, that he filmed those scenes after it had already won Best Picture for the extended edition.
That's crazy. Sit through those credits of the extended editions, folks. Those things are astronomically long. Oh my God.
Do you want to know another fun piece of trivia?
Absolutely.
It was Ian McKellen's idea to have the sketch pictures of the people next to their names.
Oh, that's amazing.
That was Ian McKellen's idea.
And who is that? Is that John Howe or the other guy? I'm sorry. There's two artists.
It's the other one.
Alan Lee. That's it. Alan Lee and John Howe. So they were brought in to do sketches for stuff like that. And those sketches at the end are really good. Like, they're amazing. Like, it's really cool to get all that. It's
a blend of a sketch of a production skill and the actual still itself.
Yeah, it's amazing.
They blended them together.
Amazing stuff. I don't know.
Well, kind of speaking about extended edition, I just wrote down one thing that I think should be cut is that we kind of talked about last night when the Ghost King comes back out and he's like, we fight. That does ruin the tension of, are they going to show up or not?
Yeah.
So I do think that should be cut from the extended edition so that when the Ghost Army just shows up, it's more impactful. Yeah. Versus, like, they're coming because he came out and said we will do it.
Good point. She's got a great point there. In the theatrical version, Aragorn comes out of the cave where he's standing there and he looks over and he sees all the villages burning. And I think he falls to his knees and he actually has tears in his eyes. And it's really hopeless. And then I think that's it, if I'm not mistaken. And then we get the dialogue about you should turn back.
Yeah.
And then Gimli hits the arrow and Legolas shoots Peter Jackson actually on the boat.
Yeah.
But you're like, well, what is that? Oh my God, those three guys are going to do that. And then he's like, oh yeah, you and what army? And then I literally think that they come out.
They all do.
And they do that, so that's the first reveal, which is why I think that worked a lot better. You're absolutely right. It worked a lot better. Not taking anything away from the extended editions, because I know this girl over here, she only watches the extended editions because of how much more is fleshed out. And I think they stand on their own as two separate creative entities. You can watch them both and still get the emotional impact that you would get upon viewing extended or theatrical. But it's just nice to have the additional little and sometimes they're only like a few minutes. Sometimes it's only a few minutes of scenes.
Sometimes the difference.
Or musical cues. There's two musical cues that I can think of. In Two Towers, I don't know his name, when the cousin dies. They're at Edoras. Sorry.
Yeah.
They're having the funeral, and Miranda Otto actually sings.
Yeah.
You would only see that in the extended cut, which is a nice musical cue. It was like really different when I saw it. Oh, she actually has a singing role. And then there's a Fellowship of the Ring scene that I really enjoy. It's another musical cue that, throw away if you didn't get it and you only watch theatrical, and that's when Sam and Frodo are trying to sleep and they hear the sounds of the elves.
Yeah.
The elves going to
Dines.
Yeah. But it's that musical cue again.
That's the Figwit scene, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
him. Yeah, he.
Well, no, that's Return of the
yeah,
King.
I don't
He
know
shows
if
up,
he's-
like, my lady.
No. You see him in like
No, because he's not going that time, so he wouldn't be with them. Those guys going.
we see Figwit first, and then the reaction to Figwit prompted Peter Jackson to give him the line in Return of the King.
Right, but I think Figwit shows up back in what is it? Not Lothlorien. What's the other
Rivendell?
one? Rivendell. I think
That's
he shows.
embarrassing for you.
I know. I think he shows up in Rivendell first because he's around there talking to
yeah,
people.
that's what it is.
These are just random elves that are going off to the Undying Lands, but Frodo and Sam, being hobbits who never venture outside their borders, get to see that for the first time. And I love that Sean Astin, and we're going to go into this right now. I love that Sean Astin has this beautiful line that says, "I don't know why, but it makes me sad." I get choked up just saying that. Like, it's really good because he's looking at a people or a race that are just
Beautiful.
yeah, their beauty and their culture and all that is not going to be part of that
It's
world
getting
no
wiped.
more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like-
they're just going to go off and they're going to disappear. And he gets that line and it chokes me up every time because I'm like,
Sean Astin has, I think, the most lines in the movie that give me the most powerful reaction. Not the only, but the most, because I think that's a good line. I think, obviously, I can't carry the ring, but I can carry it. Like, that is just like,
first off, you fuckers are not crying at that scene. Don't watch the movie. You
get the
don't
fuck
even know
outta
what you're
here.
doing, okay? You shouldn't even be watching the movie.
I love when he's coming up the fucking stairs and he's like, "That's for Frodo, and that's for my old gaffer, and that's for my old gaffer." Like, that is like Sean. We talked about it a little bit, but Sean Astin was 100% robbed of a nomination and win for his portrayal of Sam. He does such a good job of just all these really heavy emotional scenes.
Yeah.
And I think it was at a time when fantasy movies, I mean, obviously Return of the King won a ton of Oscars.
Right.
Yeah.
Technically. I think people respected the technical aspect of the movie. But I think the acting portion was still like, oh, well, that's just a fantasy movie.
Yeah,
like,
that's a dude.
let's
That's
give
a
it-
dwarf. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so. I've always said this for years. So they come out what 2000, 2001, 2002.
Four.
It's 1, 2, and 3. 2001, 2002, 2003.
Great. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So before that, if you go back to the 80s, my time, you got a lot of these, we call them sword and sorcery picks or sword and sandals picks. And you have better on the higher scale, Excalibur, and you have worse on the lower scale. I'm not even going to mention lower movies. What?
I was going to say Hawk Slayer.
No, dude, Hawk Slayer's great. Hawk Slayer's super campy, but it's from the 70s and or 80, and it's my D&D movie. Sorry, but that's actually the point I'm getting at. Dungeons and Dragons, the abomination that stars Will
Jeremy
Wheaton
Irons?
Light. Yeah, Jeremy Irons. I don't know who the dude
Who's
is.
Will Wheaton Light?
I don't know. He's you watch the main actor, he looks like Will Wheaton. And Marlon Wayans as these thieves, and it's played for comedy. Nobody understood the source material. But that bad boy comes up. There he is right there.
This guy?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's Will Wheaton Light.
Okay.
So it comes out in when? Give me a year on that, right?
2000.
Okay. It comes out right before
Yep.
The Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
This movie is blasted. Okay. It's torn apart. It's not a good movie. I get it. But I believe that's because what Nikki just said, the fantasy genre was waiting for that apex. The Lord of the Rings trilogy is the apex of fantasy films, meaning it's pre-Lord of the Rings,
And
post-Lord of the Rings. If Dungeons and Dragons had come out after Lord of the Rings, i.e. the one that's come out now,
Mhm.
it's a different time.
Yep.
The source material is treated differently. When you get these fantasy movies, they're like, oh, well, these guys can be serious. We don't have to poke fun at elves or dwarves and stuff, and it can be treated with respect. And that's the whole point of it. So all these dudes were robbed viciously. Ian McKellen was the only one nominated for an Oscar acting-wise from the first film. He should have won. I mean, that dude embodied the character. He never let it go. All 3 movies, and then even flowing into years later, the Hobbit trilogy. Not going to discuss here, but he still embodies the character. there probably won't be anybody ever that will embody that character, if they remake these at some point, which would be a travesty. But the point is, so coming back to Sean Astin, so it shows that somebody can look at that and say, holy shit, these are good actors. They are taking this fantasy source material and giving Oscar-worthy performances of this source material, and that had not happened before, So, your brooding ranger of Viggo Mortensen and stuff like that, your comedic relief of John Rhys Davies as Gimli and stuff. Yeah. Moving into the future and stuff, that would all be looked at differently. The fact is, Sean Astin, his performance alone, the hero's journey arc throughout 3 films is the best performance in the entire trilogy. That's it.
Correct.
Not taking nothing away from the other guys. They all kill it.
Well,
Ian McKellen kills it.
Yeah.
He's Gandalf.
Yeah.
That dude showed up at a party or something. I'd be like, holy shit, that's really Gandalf.
Pippin has such an arc as well that he absolutely nails. But
And I think that's the best thing about the Lord of the Rings trilogy as a whole, is almost every character in the entire series has a journey of their own sort of hero's journey. Instead of just one person, in Star Wars where it's Luke. Luke has to get there. He has to complete his journey from the very beginning until the very end, whatever that may be. Yeah. The person within the Fellowship has their own journey they need to complete. So, they have to go off on their own. They have to do this. They have to do that. I think it's nice to have almost so many different options for a hero's journey. Meaning
Absolutely.
It's not the grand wizard that does this or.
And we're not talking about the source material, obviously, but the fact that Tolkien wrote it as, and again, I always get them wrong, but Merry goes off to somebody, Pippin goes off to somebody. Yep. They're both knighted in these armies.
Yeah.
Those are amazing journeys.
Yeah.
Then you got Legolas and Gimli, who are just kind of like, if there's 2 frat boys rolling around Middle Earth, that's them.
Yeah.
They're just kind of like, but they're like your good backup. Like, hey, what are you guys doing tonight? Like, they're those guys, you know what I mean? And the fact that Aragorn has to go on this journey, but that's me doing a disservice too, because Gimli and, if you don't know about it, like the elves and dwarves have such a history of Middle Earth. They hate each other, and they just, you go back to Fellowship. I'd rather something, if Gimli says something really nasty towards Legolas, in the hands of an elf or something, never trust an elf and stuff. And of course, they get that super choke up moment in the middle of battle where Jackson's like, I didn't forget about you guys, And he's like, I never thought I'd die side by side with an elf.
Like, how about side by side with a friend?
Yeah, dude. And then Legolas is the one that says that. And by the way, those 2 guys, I know we're not talking about the books, but the appendices, those 2 are boys for life, forever. Like, they go on forever.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're the last ones. I think Gimli is actually the last one to leave Middle Earth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, I can't get over the fact that, so when we're talking about all these journeys and stuff, she's absolutely right, or whatever one you like, but they're all got their own little journey. And again, Peter Jackson sticks the landing because he wraps them all up.
Yeah,
he gives
but that's
all.
to circle back to Sean Astin, because I think, and this is obviously just my opinion, out of all of the characters in the Fellowship, besides Boromir, because unfortunately, even though he did even have his own hero's journey, which is great, it was short-lived, but he had his own, which you wouldn't even know unless the extended edition of Return of the King put that scene in there. Either way, it is. I think Sam is almost the most unlikely one to have this certain journey, which makes all the more scenes.
They set that up. They absolutely set that up in
so that when return, because he was just
when he's like
the gardener, essentially.
This is
I was just saying. I was thinking about that
window and was like, "You overheard." So now you're in charge.
What is it? Is it the 2 towers where they're captured by Faramir, and he's like, "What are you, his bodyguard?" And he literally straight face says, "His gardener."
Yeah.
Like, bitch, I'm his gardener, and I'm gonna fuck you up. Like, it is so funny to me because, like, he owns gardenership.
Yes.
Gardenership. He owns horticulture. Yeah. He's like, I'm his gardener.
But I think that's what makes
Everybody be like,
everything
what?
that comes into Return of the King
His
for
what?
Sam specifically so impactful because, and we were talking about that last night watching the guys, the cinema wins and everything, talking about how
Shout out Cinema Wins.
Sam was the optimism of the entirety of it.
He says that, if I take one more step, this is the farthest away from home I've ever been. Like, you truly see, like, he's not a child because they're...
Well, he has childlike wonder, yeah.
They're... How old are they? They're, like...
They're 100 years old. Let's go with that. Something like that.
They're, like, middle-aged because even Bilbo was only 111 and he was, like, way pushing.
But, yeah, so even that there, you see that sense of, like, the Shire is so isolated. Yeah. Like, other than Gandalf coming in and, with his fireworks and whatnot, like, they're very much just the Shire.
Yeah, you got that bubble around.
So right. You really get a sense of fish out of water in that character of Samwise.
But you got Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas. They never go from each other's side. They got to do the whole Dimalt Road, the King under the mountain. That's wrong. Sorry.
Come on.
The other, the undead king, whatever he is. Yeah.
The ghost king.
Yeah. So they got to go through all that. Immediately on the eve of the battle of Pelennor Fields is what it would be. So he's got to leave all those guys behind, and then you have Theoden. So Theoden's even got a journey, but his is unfortunately that whole I'm ready to meet my death. My death and stuff. And I think once his son dies, it's kind of bad because I feel he doesn't really have this will to live, but dying gloriously in battle.
Yeah, I think his will is just at that point, I have to redeem myself. And in his eyes, the only way that that's possible is I need to die for this cause. I need to lead such a brave charge, and show these men what a true leader is.
And not only that, but I think it was, I couldn't be there for my son to protect him, so I have to be there for the other ones I love and for my community, my kingdom.
I'm not going to lie. When seeing it in the theater, when Aragorn does his 50-yard dash after the beacons are lit, okay?
Gondor calls for aid.
Yeah, Gondor calls for aid. I admit, I was like, is he going to help? Like, there's that, and you see Legolas's face or Orlando Bloom where he, like, bows his head a little bit, and he's like, they're all, like...
holding their breath.
Yeah, they're holding their breath. Like, this dude, what's he going to do? Like, imagine he's like, so... and they're like, so what? I don't know what he says. And Rohan will answer. Yeah. And then it's just, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, you get that feeling again.
Yeah, you
where you're
literally like...
And they're going to go off and do this and stuff. But all throughout there, they're sprinkling you with this, we don't have enough men. We don't have this. We don't have that. And as Gandalf said, nothing but a fool's hope. There's no way that they're going to win against any of this. When you think about the odds arrayed or aligned against them, there's no way that any of these guys should have won anything like they would. Now, those little one-on-one skirmish battles, they're really great warriors, but you start putting, the Battle of Pelennor Fields and stuff.
Well, when they come, they do turn the tides because the cavalry aspect of
Absolutely.
it. Like, having those horses, that shot is actually so jarring because they just fucking decimate those orcs.
Absolutely.
So, that is very helpful, just having the horses.
And taking them by surprise.
And taking them by surprise.
We just showed up right behind you.
And it's crazy if you think about it. So they win the Battle of Pelennor Fields, right? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden... Then the next conversation, or somewhere down the line, somebody says there are now 10,000. I think it's 10,000. There are now 10,000 orcs between Frodo and Mount Doom. So Sauron was like, "Nah, I'm just gonna hold these guys back." And then we got this. And it's weird that there's so much bad guys. Like, the bad guys are like, holy crap.
You see that this is a long running effort. Like, it's not like he was like, you know what? I got 2 weeks. I'm going to make an army. Like, when Gandalf leaves and is like, I got to go fucking check on something, and then, goes into a bunch of scrolls and stuff, that's 17 years right there. And it's another, I don't even remember how long it takes for Sam and Fred? Fram. That's their couple name.
Fram, that's their couple name. We ship Fram.
We ship Fram. It's gay. Like, if you watch it, it's gay. It takes like a
Confirmed by
billion
Sean
years
Astin.
for Fram to get from the Shire to Mordor. So,
Yeah.
like, that's a lot of time for him to just be making mud babies.
Yeah.
Like,
Mud babies.
Are we done with Sean Astin? Because like
well, we're never done with Sean Astin, but for the sake of
I do think that
Wrapping him up.
yeah, controversial wise, there are other people that you have a favorite character. I get it. But Sean Astin, to Return of the King, it's Sam. So Samwise is really, if he never went with Frodo, the movie fails.
Never.
Honestly, that's the plot, but I get it. But and if you notice when they're coming back in the Shire at the end, it's all really nice and they're all really spiffied up, and it's kind of their journeys coming back and where they did all that stuff, which is really, I thought that was a really cool thing that they all rode into town like that.
And that's another thing, going back to Shire's literally in a bubble, because they show up. They literally saved Middle Earth and the entirety being of these creatures, and yet that damn gardener, like, the first stop, he's
here's
just
the
looking
star
at him.
guy. He's like,
the fuck you guys doing?
I doubt they even know what happened. Like,
they don't.
No, they
There's
don't.
no way for them to know. There's
Yeah.
literally,
No.
these guys just fucked off, and they thought they would never see him again.
Well,
And
it's
they
the
just
same
ride
thing
back into town.
And it's the same thing up in The Hobbit, where Bilbo goes on his journey, and when he returns home, they
Right.
looted his house, and he's like,
I know we're not,
What?
and I know we're not supposed to be talking about this. And the unfortunate thing is because that would have been ending number 6. So in the book, he actually sends his armies
army
to burn and
pillage.
the scouring of the Shire.
That is one change that I think works better for the movie, because then you get to see.
And you get another final battle on top of a final battle.
Yeah, but the more important thing is, I like the contrast of hobbits went and saw all this death and destruction and just utter, like, mess you up for the rest of your life, PTSD things, and then they come back and it's exactly the same as when they left. There's nothing different. They can return back to their old lives, except they can't. Because, especially for Frodo, he still has the weight of, I did this massive thing that really burdens him. And so I like seeing that contrast when they're all sitting in the bar and everybody's having a great time and they're all drinking around, and there's that moment of, like,
They all look at each other.
they're looking at each other and they're like, yay, we're having fun, right?
Yeah.
Like,
it's almost sad. Like,
Yeah,
it's almost a
it's-
really sad
yeah.
moment and stuff. But again, our boy Sam, what does he do?
Mayor.
He
Oh,
gets
this-
up and he takes that drink and he gets up
He
there
says,
and he goes,
I've
Rosie
literally done it
Cotton.
all.
yeah,
I
I think,
can't
yeah,
talk to the girl of my dreams. What was it all for?
that's an amazing
And then cut to the wedding. I love that
end
so
cap.
much.
Yeah, it's like really good that he was just like, I'm gonna go talk to her because I literally
But I
stared
think
death in the
that's another
face. You
thing
know,
is that seeing in Fellowship, he was so deathly afraid to even look at her
Yeah,
in the
character
eye.
growth.
When she was like, "Oh, have a good night," and he's like, There's still that hesitation where he's like, "I can't talk to her. I can't do it," and then he
Right.
realizes, "No, I can do this because I've done so much."
So I just want to touch on, like, the creep, because you kind of said it was Shelob. Like, creepy elements of the movie. There's a couple scenes that really stand out to me as really creepy. Well, number one, I, to this day, cannot tell you what the Shelob scenes look like because I have never seen all of them all the way through. I quite literally close my eyes every time. I know when the scenes, like, when Shelob is no longer on scene so that I can open my eyes, and then I know when she's about to come back on screen that I close my eyes. So that's creepy. I think the scene of Frodo really finally coming into Mordor officially, and it's doing that, like, Dutch tilt pan down as he's kind of like, oh, that's such an unsettling, like,
I know
visual to me.
well, that's in front of that
Like,
where all the orcs come out.
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
What really gets me with creepy scenes, and just because of creepy in general, he looks fucking nasty.
Are you about to?
Is the very beginning when he's going through his Gollum transformation, and not only is it because he just looks fucking nasty, he just looks fucking gnarly before he actually gets to the CGI like version
Yeah.
of Gollum, like as his complete transformation. But watching this creature that is the same as, Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin, that was living this peaceful life in whatever, has transformed into such a disgusting, foul thing of a creature that you can't even recognize him anymore.
Can we deviate for a hot second?
Shout out to Andy Serkis.
There you go.
There it is.
So this is also a time before our time of when
Mo capture, like,
motion capture and stuff,
Yeah.
and Nikki loves even practical effects.
Yes.
And we watch movies all the time, and if it has practical effects, we cannot say enough about practical effects and the way it is. So having Andy Serkis on set interacting as Gollum, even though they did him CGI, is so much better. I mean, they're actually looking in the right direction, et cetera,
You're going to get a stronger performance out of those people because they're actually interacting, even though obviously Andy Serkis looks nothing like Gollum. But they're interacting with the same voice, the lines are actually being said right there.
Yep.
And there's a physical, like, instead of just like a stick with eyeballs on it, how they do sometimes. Shout out to Weta Workshops.
Yeah. And also with the Sean Astin that we were talking about, the fact that Andy Serkis has gone on to perfect his art of the motion capture. There's strong argument for the Planet of the Apes trilogy.
Yeah.
That he should have won an Academy Award for his performance in that.
Yeah.
And I don't ever think has he ever been nominated for that?
I don't think
and Andy Serkis is actually a cool actor too. Like I see him in other movies.
Yeah.
And it sucks because
which is fun.
Technically, like, if you're not looking at the performance side of like, wow, that was a really strong performance, the other part of his performance is lends into the special effects, but he's not ever credited. Like, if they win a special effects Oscar, I don't believe he gets one, even though he's like the reason why it is easier and more successful. So shout out to Andy Serkis. What a legend.
Yeah, I'm surprised we got this deep and we didn't even talk about him.
There's sad. A lot to talk about. But the other, like, kind of creepy scene, we touched on it earlier when we talked about Billy Boyd singing, is that the fucking cherry tomatoes. When he's fucking eating and
it's like, disgusting, but I think it's necessary because it shows Denethor's just greed and uncaring nature of whatever's going on.
Yeah.
His only alive son is literally going into battle in a battle that even Denethor knows he will not win. And he still was like, go out there and die.
Well, before he sent him off, he was like,
think better of me, I know.
You wished I was...
You wish it was me
instead of Boromir and stuff. Which, again, credit to the extended scenes of the movies, especially Return of the King. You get a lot of backstory between Boromir and Faramir as brothers that they both...
Which, side note, I just want to say, Sean Astin and David Wenham, look... Sean Bean, sorry. Yeah. Sean Bean, David Wenham, those are, like, they're real brothers. Like, you could not tell me those dudes are not, like...
really good, yeah.
Somebody check on their moms, because somebody slept with somebody.
They were created in a lab.
Or their dads, I guess. Like, like they either share a mommy or a daddy, and you can't tell me they don't.
Yeah. What else you got? Is that it for creepiness? Or?
Yeah, that's it for creepiness. Okay. Other things I just wanted to talk about, Gandalf's just bad as fuck. He's just bad as fuck. He fucking hops down and his fucking staff, sword.
Perm press showed up and wrecked him.
Yeah, he got pressed and he is pressed.
He got his iron robes.
He'll fuck a motherfucker up. I also put down some other notable quotes I put is it still only counts as one. That's a great...
Their contest is great.
I think going back to what we said earlier, where you can do the fantasy is serious, but Lord of the Rings still sprinkles those
you have those moments
of they're still human. They still make these, or they're still beings, personality. They still make these jokes, and they still try and have a good time, even in the face of literally ultimate death.
Yeah,
Gimli and Legolas are still making those jokes.
Side note that I'm going to say that one of the best lines in the movie for me, it's a fun line. It has traversed into my D&D games because I play a dwarf and I have a buddy who's a human fighter and stuff, and every time we got downtime, I always say in my gruff voice, what do I say?
Let's get some food.
Let's get some food. I love that. I'm sure it was in the script, but it just feels so natural for John Rhys Davies to be like, let's get some food.
I think the last two powerful quotes, they come from the same person. But the first one is just Aragorn, like, they're about to face those 10 fucking thousand orcs. He does a really great, like, hype speech, but then he just ends it with the very... So, yeah, it's all hype, but he just ends it, and it's not a yell. It's not powerful, but it is powerful because it is quiet. And it's just that, he's just for Frodo, and he just turns and fucking books it.
And
then
we're
the
the
little
ones in the
hobbits-
very back who saw him turn and mumble something and went, what?
What?
Oh, they're running. Oh, we're going? Oh, shit, what happened? What are we doing?
So,
Oh my god, what do we do? Is there a plan? Oh, it's like that video from forever ago that I know what I'm talking about, where he just charges in.
Leroy Jenkins.
There
You're
it
talking
is.
about Leroy. It's not like he knows they're going to be able to save Frodo. He doesn't even know if Frodo is alive.
Right,
Like,
right.
He's just like, no matter what happens in this moment, all of this is for whatever Frodo has done.
Yeah.
Like, either
Our last efforts will not
Yeah.
be in vain for him.
So that's really cool. And then you get, we're into the movie. We get our endings. You get the other most powerful line, and that is, "My friends, you bow to no one."
Oh my
and that
God,
is.
yeah. First of all, again, I'm gonna have to say, if you don't, and I
If you
use the
don't cry
word
there.
weep. I'm not gonna say cry. If you're not weeping as the end of the movie is coming up with these lines and that you bow to no one, you're not watching the same movies we're watching, because it doesn't fly.
Actually, do you want me to ruin that scene for you?
Go ahead.
So, that was the last, the Hobbit side of that shot was the last shot to be shot in the principal photography.
Yeah.
And Viggo Mortensen was like, "I'm not fucking missing this shit," even though he wasn't needed on the thing.
Right.
Yeah, so he showed up and he didn't have a crown, so he made like a little paper crown. And in between each take, I guess people kept decorating it, and it was getting sillier and sillier. So the four hobbits had difficulty keeping a straight
keeping
face.
a straight face. Yeah.
And I just love that Viggo, like Aragorn is such a serious character
all the time too.
Yeah.
But when you look at all the stuff about Viggo behind the scenes,
Right.
So he worked.
Yeah, another filming thing that I wrote down that I want to talk about is Ian McKellen's first day on set was Gandalf coming into the Shire. Ian McKellen's second day on set was the Greyhaven scene.
Oh my God.
So your first day on the job, you're like, yay, fun, I'm a cool wizard, fireworks. Your second day on the job, hey, I'm taking your friend to heaven now.
Oh my God.
Like,
that is funny.
That is
Say goodbye.
acting.
Right.
Yeah. So
Celeborn.
don't
Don't
fucking
even
get me started on
start.
Celeborn. You know that's my
We don't
boy.
have time to go into Celeborn. Also, I want to point out again, like we talked about earlier, the scene with Gandalf and talking about the Grey Havens, Pippin. There's another scene that when Frodo gets on the boat, okay, at the end to go to the Undying Lands. Again, if it's direction by Peter Jackson, amazing. This guy is underrated and he doesn't get enough for this. But Frodo, with all that sadness and the burden and everything, as soon as he steps on the boat, look at him, and he turns, it's all gone. He's smiling at his friends.
It's almost like his cheeks are fuller, they're
Yep.
rosier.
You know what? We haven't said it. Shout out to Elijah Wood. Shout out to Elijah Wood. That guy can. Elijah Wood got mad acting chops in this. He's got so many moments where he is sad and happy at the same, like conveying so many different emotions within one line.
It's like even just going to drop the ring, he has like 80 different things going through his head of just get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. But there's that still part of him that's like, no, you want it, no, you want it, you know what it can do for you. And he's literally having an internal battle within himself.
I mean, I just would love to talk about Annie Lennox again.
Oh my god.
Listen, that bitch starts out with the lay down. And I'm instantly like, my sweet. It's iconic.
It was good. It was good. It's probably the best of the three. I don't know who the
well, it's Enya is May It Be, and then it's
and that's
Gollum's
the
song,
top, but
and I always forget who does Gollum's
Is it
song.
Billy Boyd?
No. I think it's
I'll look it up.
it's a boy or something.
It's not a boy.
Oh, I thought it was a boy. I apologize.
Emiliana Torini.
Okay.
I probably did not say that right. We'll put it up on the screen.
Okay.
Okay.
So we're probably going to wrap this up. I think that if we had a cohesive plot to this, we stuck to it pretty well. I don't know if because I recently did a 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, but there are a lot of people in certain camps about certain movies and stuff. And to me, seriously, joking aside, I'm going to go on record here on the podcast and I'm going to say that the Lord of the Rings trilogy is probably the greatest trilogy of all time. There isn't a lot that you can find wrong with it. That's not like, okay, that was a technical thing or stuff like that. But not only the achievements in film, the sound quality, the CGI, the acting, the cast list that can probably go 20 deep before you get to somebody A, you know what I mean? As well as the fact that the movies provoke an emotional response in most people that you don't normally have. You know what I mean? So when you get in there and you find yourself sobbing because you're the Return of the King, that's powerful to me. So I really do feel, and kidding aside, because I love the Star Wars trilogy, I grew up on it, but I think as a trilogy of films, that the Lord of the Rings trilogy is the greatest trilogy
Yeah,
of
I
all
don't think
time.
you can.
So, and as if we wanted to do it jokingly, Lord of the Rings trilogy is the greatest trilogy of all time. Fight me. Change my mind.
Change our mind.
So
Yeah.
that's I know if anybody's going to say anything about the comments, it's going to be nitpicking stuff.
Well, and I
It
think
is.
you can, if you look at, so they always talk about, Return of the King has one of the most Oscar nominations for a movie, right? But the bigger thing about that is, because there are more movies that have come out recently that have had just as many, if not more, nominations. But the thing is, like, I just looked up Everything Everywhere All at Once. It had more nominations, but the same amount of wins. But for every single thing Return of the King was nominated for at that Oscars, it won for, which I think is I think that really shows, like, there was clearly something so good about this movie that it got recognized, except for acting. Cowards, give Sean Astin an Oscar.
Just an honorary one at this point.
Just an honorary one. Because down here is our time.
Because it's their time. Their time. Up there. Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here.
Anyways, sorry, we're going to have a Goonies episode too. I'm saying it right.
I don't know about.
We should have an episode that's like, I don't know what kind of type of movie you would classify that as. It's like
Well, it could fall into directors if you wanted, but I'm not sure. So.
Well, is that Chris Columbus?
No,
it's screenplay by Chris Columbus.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
It's directed by Richard Donner, the late great Richard Donner.
Yeah, but I don't want to be in that episode because I don't know anything about Superman.
Okay. As always, follow us on our YouTube channel, the Fandom Outpost. Follow us on our podcast. Like, subscribe, all those good things that you hear 50 million times a day. And please really jump over to the Facebook page because that's where we like a lot of engagement. We post stuff about other movies. We post stuff about trivia. We post stuff about just random stuff that's not necessarily movie related, collectibles, books, things like that. So follow us on there as well.
Thank our producer, Nikki.
And that's a weird one, but yes, I guess normally we end with thanking our producer, Nikki, who is actually with us here in the studio. So it's awesome that we're able to do this. Yes, I was getting to that. I was actually getting to that. So if this airs, I'm not sure when it'll air because it'll be December by the time the 20th anniversary comes up.
Spoilers, not December.
Not December. We are in the middle of summer, but because Gabrielle was able to visit us here in studio, we thought we would do this special one. And I've been leading to it for a while and thinking about it because I know that in our household, we are huge Lord of the Rings fans.
What? What are you talking about?
I know, right?
Not.
I think right here. Yeah, and this is all Lord of the Rings stuff up here. Everything else is not. And you can see some of our props and memorabilia in the front. So we have a lot.
Yeah, the disrespect to Sting, though, here. It doesn't glow blue, though, so sorry.
Well, that's because there's no orcs around.
I just want to say thank you to Fandom Outpost for allowing me to be here and to talk about something that I'm so passionate about. And I do hope to come back and talk about more things that I'm very passionate about and have those different generational opinions in the future and really kind of just expand upon the world of pop culture with everyone.
Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I live here, so.
my feet are starting to itch.
Yeah, after.
Just itch them, dude.
Just itch your feet. Like,
I mean,
itch your
itch
feet.
spray.
Huh.
Because that's going to lower the composition!
That's my opinion.
Well,
Oh my god. Is that my feet that smell?
I don't know. I can't smell right now, and now I don't. I'm scared too.
Yeah, because I just took my shoes off down there. I'm like, is that my feet?
That might.
Damn, that might be my feet.
How do you only have 3 Bluetooth devices?
No, but I have like a million. I think most of them.
I think that might be my feet.